my dad said something to me that stuck with me. Everybody in the family was excited. Nobody in the family had gone to any law school before, let alone Yale. So my dad, quiet the whole time, took me outside out on the porch. My father died 2 years ago, so a little emotional when I'm talking about it. He took me outside on the porch, and he said, you know, son, you passed me up. You passed me up. You're going to go someplace I've never been. You're going to learn stuff I don't know. There's not that much more I can do to help you. You're going to be smarter than me next time I see you. You're going to be smarter than me. But I want you to know there are two kinds of smart people in this world. There's smart people who take very simple things and make them sound very complicated so they can enrich themselves. And there are smart people who take very complicated things and make them sound very simple to empower other people. I want you to be that kind of smart guy next time I see you. And so that's been my mission and my mandate. I've tried to get behind the curtain, Ivy League schools and White Houses and other places, try to figure out what the heck's going on and figure out some way to explain it to ordinary people who get it and do something about it. Because I actually happen to believe in democracy and believe that people can actually make a difference if they know enough and care enough and have a chance. And so going off to law school, super idealistic, I got a chance to see something that I think shocks a lot of you. I went to law school in New Haven, Connecticut. Anybody ever been to New Haven, Connecticut? How far from the campus, with all its Gothic wonders and all its wealth and gates and gargoyles and all that sort of stuff, is the ghetto? About 3 blocks? About 4? You can literally stand on one corner and look this way and see the campus and look this way and see housing prices right around. So I got a chance to see close up and personal when I was a law student. Young, idealistic kid from the South, grew up in the church, dad's a cop in the military. Here I am going to law school and learning all about behind these doors equal protection and equal opportunity and equal justice. And I could literally walk out the front door and I could see two kinds of kids. From my point of view, all of them were going to hell. Two kinds of kids that Jesus would have been woefully disappointed in. Why? Because you had kids on the campus and they were doing drugs. I mean, it's going to shock you. But this happens on some of these campuses. I mean, you wouldn't know. But these, turned out that this Ivy League school I enrolled in was full to the gills with nonviolent drug offenders. You wouldn't know this yourself, but this happens on some of these campuses. Full of nonviolent drugs. And I didn't call my grandmother. I couldn't call my dad. I was going to break his heart. He's spending all this money to have because he's a criminal place. And so I called my grandmother. And I said, Big Mama. You call your grandmother Big Mama. So I don't know. Name, whatever. I was Big Mama in my community. Big Mama. Big Mama. The people in my dorm are smoking marijuana cigarettes. Big Mama is smoking marijuana cigarettes. She's like, oh, baby, it's going to be all right. Just pray. Just pray. Like, I've been praying, they still smoking the marijuana. She said, well, baby, it's going to be all right. Tell your professor. They smoking them too. What I'm going to do? So I was shocked, because I got to get out of here. So I would go, to volunteer in the community. More nonviolent drug offenders. But I noticed a difference. When the nonviolent drug offending criminals on the campus got in trouble. The system reacted aggressively and put them in rehab, treatment. And those kids, I mean, I saw them, they fall out in the stairwell in the middle of the finals, whatever. Those kids they would pause their finals, let them withdraw, they'd go get rehab, they would go into treatment, someone would go to Europe. And they would come back, hit pause again, finish up. Those kids wound up being doctors, lawyers, President of the United States at one point. Just saying. Kids at Yale, man. Buck wild. And then, same thing would happen with the kids, 18-year-old kids, same age group, doing the same drugs, 3 blocks away, went to prison. That broke my heart. I couldn't believe it. I'd grown up sheltered, like a lot of people, and to be exposed to that kind of injustice, I knew what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I wasn't going to be a part of a legal profession that would justify that. And I talked to my dean at the time. And he goes, well, you know, man, those kids in housing project, those kids they're drug pushers, man. And, our kids, they're experimenting with drugs. So I don't see the experimentation exception here in the Constitution you've been teaching me about. I don't quite get the distinction. So, like most people who get disillusioned, I came out of the Bay Area and let my hair down when I had time. You probably heard about that part of that stage of my life. That was an important part of my life. And the good thing about being in the United States, the good thing about being in a free country is that you're free to think whatever you want. You're free to think whatever you want. I'm not going to hurt anybody. You're free to think whatever you want. You're free to say whatever you want. You're free to change your mind to. And you give up that freedom because you're afraid of YouTube or Google or Yahoo or whatever, you give up a big part of your life. You have a right to grow up. You have a right to. I never experimented with drugs and alcohol. I experimented with ideas, ideologies, worldviews, and as a result of it, I think my mind's a little bit stretchier than some folks. And I'm happy to point out, because some of you guys who are careerists, I had a lot of people who played it very safe through law school and afterwards. They're still waiting for their 6 months in the White House. So if you try to calculate this thing too much, you sometimes miss life, but you also sometimes miss opportunities that only come to you when you're crazy. They only come to you when you actually don't care about your own resume as much as you care about other people. I say that because you guys are in trouble. To get to the bulk of my speech, which will hopefully be enhanced by my colleagues, you guys are in trouble. You are about to inherit a nightmare scenario. Some of you came to law school and you're welcome to stay. The rest of you came to justice school. I'm here talking to people who thought they were enrolling in justice school. That's what I'm here talking about. You guys are in trouble. And you're never going to see a group of law students come out of the academy at a more critical time, a more challenging time, for those of us who actually want to see the stuff we believed in kindergarten come true. Liberty and justice for all, America the beautiful, and all that stuff. You guys are in trouble. You're about to inherit a nightmare scenario, and I want to talk to you about some solutions that I think are at least a part of the way to fix it. But here's your nightmare. You're about to live in a country with increasing ethnic and racial and social diversity. Increasing ethnic, racial, and social diversity, and decreasing economic prosperity. A country that's getting more and more diverse, but less and less prosperous. That is not a recipe for a common ground. That is a recipe for a battleground. And those of you who believe that we can be one country, who believe that we can actually achieve great things together, have a challenge, because you have opponents now. You see the same situation. And your opponents, seeing that situation, have a solution for it. And the solution is to try to shrink the diversity. They see the diversity as the main threat. That's why they attack immigrants. That's why they attack Muslims. That's why they attack lesbians, gays, bisexual, and transgender communities. They see that's why they're so terrified of having an African American president. They see the diversity as a threat. And so they are trying to attack and shrink the diversity. I would argue that the diversity is not a problem for America. The diversity is a source of a solution for America. I would argue that we are the one country in the world that is blessed to have the genius of all peoples within our borders. We are the one country in the world. Every race, every faith, every kind of sexuality, gender expression is all here. So if the problems of the world can be solved, they are likely to be able to be solved here. I would argue that diversity will be the main driver in terms of our entrepreneurial zeal and success, keeping our workforce young enough to continue to be productive so we don't wind up graying out like Europe. I would argue that diversity is a strength. The challenge is to say no and no again to any attacks that are based on bigotry and bias to shrink the diversity. Instead, the challenge is to stop that and to try once again to figure out how do we increase the prosperity? How do we grow the economy? How do we create an economy that has that is prosperous enough to include more people? That's the only way forward. The formula is very simple. Put America back to work so we can pull America back together. That's the basic formula. That's going to be your challenge. There's very little in your life over the next 20 years that won't fall somewhere into that construct. Trying to stop these bigoted attacks, embrace the diversity of America, eat pluralism, and at the same time grow the economy. Now here's the challenge. How do you grow the economy? You've got some limits now that people 30 years ago didn't have. Those limits are called, if you grow your economy the wrong way, you bake the planet. If you grow the economy the wrong way, you keep polluting and poisoning stuff, you're literally wiping out the ecological diversity of the planet that keeps us alive. So you can't grow in the old pollute and burn way. You've got to grow in a much smarter way. I would argue that the next American economy will be characterized by three characteristics. Then I'm going to talk to you about the policy vehicles to get you there. The economy that just crashed, the ones in the garbage can, the reason why you're scared you're not going to have a job, right? That economy, you notice that the economy's not so great? It was characterized by three things. Consumption rather than production. Credit, excessive credit, rather than smart savings and thrift, like our grandparents. And ecological destruction rather than ecological restoration. That's the old economy. Consumption, credit, ecological destruction. And look at what it got you. Got you a planet getting cooked, and got you an economy in the garbage can. Global temperature is going up, job opportunity is going down. Bad outcome. Right? The next economy, therefore, needs to be based on production rather than consumption. Thrift and conservation, smart savings rather than credit, excessive credit. And ecological restoration, the so-called green economy. But it's not just about green jobs that everybody was talking about. No, you're talking about the cornerstone for a productive American economy that can produce more work, more wealth, and better health for the American people. And the cornerstone will be the core green technologies. It's got to go bigger than that. But that's the cornerstone for rebuilding the economy. Now, most of you have heard this stuff before, but I do want to point out, this is not utopian stuff. I want to be clear, it's not utopian stuff. It does remind me of a story about Paul Hawken. Everybody know who Paul Hawken is? So you get Paul Hawken, one of my mentors, an amazing ecological entrepreneur, visionary, author. White guy, wealthy, comes to give a talk to low-income people, African American folks mostly, about the green economy. And there's a child in the room, 6-year-old girl. And children are amazing. They see stuff that grown people either don't see or won't say they see. So here's this wealthy white man, front of the room talking. Here's this little girl. She looks around. She looks at herself. She looks at him. She asks a question.